Choose you this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. It's Joshua Demers Productions with my second episode with my second RV, where I do the second round of reframing rotted floor joists, and I do the kitchen deletion, and I'm ready to replace the front flooring. You can see the progress I've made on the right side as I grab my tools. I have to do a little bit of clearing out with the weed eater so I can set up my camera tripod, and this will help my landlord out as he's clearing things out and getting ready to move. And show off my gas weed eater. One of my customers gave it to me for doing such a good job with their yard. They've got a couple of them. They don't have trouble running it. It says it eats oil. So they gave it to me and I really appreciate it. Anyway, here we go, taking off the furnace. And it's a little more modern than what I'm used to, so I'm gonna take it out and see if it's better than the one I've got now, and if it might be worth swapping it out or upgrading, or if, like I said, excuse my stutter, I believe it is smaller than the one I've got, and the one I've got, just barely keeps up with my entire place. So maybe I'll use that in the bedroom and the bigger one in the main living room kitchen area, and have dual big furnaces in my main RV. Or maybe I'll keep this one out here for using out here in the workshop when I'm doing things, instead of using a portable heater out here. I don't know, may not even work, might not be worth fixing. Anyway, like the other one, we take the wheel well off, or wheel cover off, wheel well cover, whatever. And I noticed it's set too far back. It actually looks like it's covering the front of the tire a little bit, so I might readjust it for perfectionist's sake a little later on. Anyway, as you can see, the rot and the bouncing around and the weight and time is taking its toll on this corner, and it's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as, well, as bad as if I didn't know what I was doing. A lot of people just, as you can see, just kind of put little screws and straps and everything around the sides, and that flex seal, and tape it up, and then put some paneling on the inside, and maybe some plywood over the old plywood, trying to buy some time and patch it up. And that actually makes it harder to fix the right way, having to undo all that. Fortunately, this camper RV is actually not patched up too much, and the little bit of patching up they did is actually like inside paneling that I can reuse to save a little bit of time, transportation, and money reusing it. But as you can see, there's absolutely just nothing left to the floor, but that is not uncommon right here by these water heaters. Really, the water heaters, if you don't change the anode rods in them, about once a year, I would imagine, when you're using it, they eat up the tank and then they leak, and the fittings behind it, you got to keep an eye on those too. And when they leak, you usually don't even know about it till it's too late. So it's actually not a bad idea to keep an eye on it. Anyway, what I was saying right there was trying to get this board in there. One of the little patch ups they did had those two pieces of wood right in the way, so I had to go in and take that patch out so I have enough room to slide this floor joist all the way up inside. And of course, the old flooring is in the way, so I've got to sit and break it off just enough to get this thing in there. I really should have just took the furnace out from the inside, which I end up doing later. Would have saved me a lot of time and trouble. So here I am inside, getting the jack up in here to try to get me the clearances I need so I can get these floor joists in here. And it's a good idea and a bad idea the way I just did it. I really should have waited till I took the cabinets out up at the ceiling. Although, again, this is a little bit of a tricky situation, because I want to get as close to the wall as possible when I'm doing my lifting, But without these floor joists right here that I'm putting in, there's really no good spots to do this. So I kind of have to come inside a little bit, which is not ideal. And it's a bit of a struggle. And I heard a bit of a pop or crack at the very, 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 very extreme, jacking this up, which you'll hear me explain later. But yeah, I found it actually a little easier to kind of work this thing in from the inside at this point. Do what you got to do with what you got to work with. See that strap over there is in the way, but good job, done. Now I'm ready to put the other floor joist in, which was another struggle because it's taller than the one that the floor goes onto, and underneath that furnace the floor is sticking out just a little tiny bit too much, and it was, like I said, should have just took the furnace out. It was a struggle getting this thing in here. Plus, you can see me trying to lift on the bottom plate, which was actually a good idea, but then this piece of wood, you know, this is free lumber, really, really twisted and terrible lumber for free from across the street. And so it was a real struggle getting this thing straightened out. I'm still not 100% happy with it, but I think when I go to put the wall and the floor together, I'll be able to put a little more of a twist on it and get it straightened out a little better. But at this point, my idea is let's attach it on one side, like try to use this as a lifting point for the back side of the wall. And again, it kind of works, except this thing just wants to twist out at the top. But anyway, so after jacking it up on the inside again, hearing that crack, struggling with it, and I'm not 100% sure even how I got it in there, but there it is. Put the paneling on and then realized for some reason my camera shut off, so I clicked it back on, putting on this other piece of siding over here, and I'm about to move inside here to go ahead and take care of the kitchen, because I want to get this ready where I can just come in and start taking the floor out when I'm ready to put the floor in. I've got a couple of pieces already stacked up next door, all ready to go in and do the first 8 feet of this thing. And I can also take some of the flooring that I pull out of here and cut it up into pieces and use it for patching up, you know, other pieces of flooring as I work my way back. And who knows, with the walls in the middle, if the floor in the bathroom's in decent enough shape, I may not even have to do that at all. I might be able to just stop right near the wheel wells, basically, is what, you know, we'll see. So put a little fit and finish on this here. I just give up on this because, like I said, well, see, at this point it's like late early afternoon, so I just gave up, went inside for a little while, caught my breath. You know, got to really be careful out here with the Florida heat and the sun and everything. Anyway, got myself put back together and got bored and motivated again. Couldn't get it off my mind and said, all right, time to get in here and get this done. It had actually stayed pretty cool in here for most of the morning, but by this afternoon it started getting a little bit of oven, so I used a blower, the leaf blower, as a fan, and it actually works. It's, you know, a little heavy on the batteries, but I've got a handful of giant batteries and a couple of fast chargers, so it almost kept up with me, but it really did make a big difference. It was a little noisy, but you can see I had a Bluetooth speaker inside and outside, my tablet playing some music. That's one of the reasons why this thing is muted, is because I don't want to get no copyrights or anything, and you just be hearing a from the blower mixed with it. Anyways, you know, this sink is actually in really, really good shape, and I think the stove is actually pretty good too. So I'm definitely going to end up reusing these or reselling them or something somewhere. So it's definitely worth the trouble taking it out the right way. No need to go breaking and grabbing, tearing things apart yet. That'll come here in just a few moments. I figure I'd go ahead and save some of the cabinet doors and hinges and hardware and drawers and, you know, whatever I can possibly reuse somewhere. But if it's in too terrible shape, I'd toss it out. And honestly, lifting this thing up as much as I did already has already straightened this thing out enough where, you know, if I pulled that back corner or front left corner up there up a little bit and reattached it, you know, you could technically reuse it if you didn't care that there's a hole in the floor underneath behind the cabinets. But in order to get that flooring replaced, you have to take this out. There's just no way. If it was in better shape, you know, you can do this mostly without destroying it. And you know, I'm actually attempting to do that in a little bit of practice and see what I can do with it, but it's so rotted. Some of the screws are just stripped out and stuff, and at that point it's just, you know, give up on it and start pulling and prying. But that right there looks like a good little piece to reuse, because you got to remember, I'm still working on my kitchen in my living RV camper. It's you know, I got it temporarily set up with a sink and little countertop and everything, but I've got no paneling on it. It's just basically sanded plywood. It doesn't even have paint on it right now. So I'm going to put a better, more suitable sized sink in it and put some vinyl topper or something on it. Do it upright. In fact, the sink I take out of here might just end up being the sink I put in my live-in RV camper. We'll call it RV camper number 1. And then they'll call this one RV camper number 2. And we'll call my little cream and white colored storage camper, we'll call that camper number 3. It may not be staying with me. So I'm getting the paneling out of this corner so I can see what I got to work with and start thinking about how I'm gonna finish up this corner a little better in the future. Plus I want to again make sure I got the clearance I need to just go in there and start replacing wood when I'm ready to do the flooring. Getting better at keeping cleaned up behind myself so I'm not always stumbling and tripping over everything. Yep, that's looking a lot better. Now, the old refrigerator, or the spot for it I should say, it's got to come out of here. And you know, I think I made a mistake leaving the door hanging open like this all day. It was already in bad shape and really tight to close, and by the end of the day I couldn't close the door without my pry tool prying the door over just a little bit. So I undid my door closing I had solved on the first video. So here we go. Got to change the battery out in the blower, or maybe just readjust it, I can't remember. It's looking much better now. One more piece so we can clean up the floor. Get rid of them pipes. And then well, I'm sharing it with you. But anyway, be finished with it. Again, I wanted to take the screws out and, a little bit at a time, but this has actually got a seal on the back of it. And I'm guessing it's because it's propane and it's vented, see the vent right there for the air to come in, and then there's a vent on the roof for the heat and the propane exhaust to go out. So I'm guessing the seals on that are to keep that isolated from the living area. But anyway, it made it so you have to pry it out. Not the easiest thing to do with it up against these two cabinets. And we put the tape measure down, and there's 8 feet.
All right, I have got my wall. I've got my floor joist taken care of along the outside walls. I got a spot for the bottom plate and for the plywood to sit right there, all the way up to the corner, all the way down and across over to here. Clean this a little bit up, move it over that way, and I'm ready to peel this floor up to about there. That's 8 feet. It's 2 sheets, and I think the studs or joists up in here are actually in pretty good shape. So what I'm going to end up doing is taking the reciprocating saw, cutting out this piece of plywood right here, maybe about to here, so that I still have an area to work with. And you see this right here is missing up to right about there. So I'm just going to go ahead and go all the way across. Feels like it's about that thick. Feels like it's almost 3 boards side by side, or maybe it's a 2x4 set sideways. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to replace these right here, and then peel the floor back, peel it back. I'm going to have to cut off probably about 3 to 6 inches on one side of the plywood, and you can even see it's tongue and groove right there. So that ought to peel right up, and I ought to be able to set that piece of wood right in, and set that piece of wood right in. The only problem I see happening is, I guess it doesn't matter, that piece of wood come out that way. It would be better if the tongue and groove was sticking that way, going that way, but whatever. I'll make it work. Anyway, point is I'll have the first 8 feet of this thing here done. Pretty much my next step. And for what it's worth, this piece of metal that I cut out for my hole in the front wall AC install fits perfectly over the hot water heater. In fact, look at that, it even lines up with the other siding. So that's perfect right there. I'm not worried about the furnace in there right now. And this has actually got to go up, about an inch and a half, because there's just no bottom plate here at all. There's only a little bit of bottom plate left right there, and even that's kind of rotted out. So the whole idea though is to get the floor inside, and then come right up against the wall here with some jacks and some bracing, and try to pick the whole thing up. Because when I did it from the center spot right there, the second try, I went up and up and up and up and up and up and up, not quite high enough, and then I heard a crack, and I think I cracked the joist up there in the ceiling. So that's gonna have to be redone next time. Anyways, let me get this place cleaned up a little bit more. Actually, it's pretty good right now. We'll get me a lawn chair, start a fire, and burn the stuff pulled out of there, and call it a day. I
I hope you enjoyed these videos at least as much as I enjoy life to make it so far. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you care to, and stay tuned. There's more to come. I'm going to end up putting a couple pieces of flooring in, getting the walls reframed, and I got me a new full-size washing machine that needs a logic board. I bought it for $50, have less than $100, and I ought to have me a little mini off-grid laundromat. See you next time.